Welcome back to the garage, and in the last video we established that the bike is capable of running. So the next step is to actually make it run for real and not just from a little bit of gas poured down into the cylinder head. We actually want to get the carburetors hooked up somewhat, at least, so that way we can fill those with fuel, get the throttle cables attached to the carburetors, and see if we can actually get this thing to not only start but stay started and run and rev and do all of the motorcycle-y things we want it to do. So I have some 1/4-inch fuel line, and I bought a new set of plugs to go in there since I saw that one of them was pretty weak. So yeah, let's get into that. I'm gonna have to heat up this rubber connector here for the carburetor to come off because it's pretty hard again, and it's quite chilly outside. So I'm gonna have to get this warm before I can even get it pliable enough to get the carb back off of here. There we go. Well, that's obnoxious. I think we need to hit that with a little bit of lube. Much better. The adjustment on the end of this throttle cable is pretty crusty on the thread, so I'm going to hit it with a bit of lube as well. Make life a little easier as far as tightening things up. So hooking this up should be pretty straightforward. Just get that lined up with the cable and in there. Alright, get this guy in here. If I can ever get this threaded in there. There we go. Want to get some of the slack out of here. Alright, feels pretty decent. Now we got just enough thread sticking out here to get the nut on there. Now I'll just kind of loosely try to get it stuck in there a little bit. We'll check the function. It's a little sticky. It works, but I'm kind of having to help it go back into the off position. If I just turn the handle and let it go, it goes back, but it goes back pretty slow and not all the way. It stops right there, but then I can twist the handle away and it goes back a little more, it seems. Well, maybe it'll do better having both carburetors on there and having two sets of springs pulling it back into position. Alright, went ahead and cut out a length of my fuel line, deliberately leaving it a little long because I can always trim it down to the correct size later. And I'm just going to cramp that on there. And for right now, I'm not even put a clamp on because I actually would like to get some nice spring clamps, but I don't have any at the moment. Alright, I want to get this out to where I can get fuel in it easily. And the idea is just to fill the float bowl up with fuel and whatever this line will hold. And that'll at least let it run long enough to kind of tinker around. And I'm going to have to heat that joint back up to get the carb to go back in. There we go. Now I'll just do the same treatment to the carb on the other side. Get the throttle cable hooked up and get some fuel line in there and stick it back on the bike. Minus the clamp. It's just kind of in there temporary right now. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get these plugs switched out for the brand new ones. They gave me the wrong plugs. This is nothing like what came out of it. They're not even close to the right length. So, old plugs for right now it is. Alright, so we got both the carbs on. Let's go ahead and get these filled up with some gas. And for good measure, I'm going to put a little bit of fuel down in each of the plug holes. Alright, got the power hooked up, so let's see what happens. Well, it ran for a couple seconds, but that's not what we're shooting for. That was exciting the first time, but now not so much. Let's shoot a little starting fluid down in here. All right, let's try this again. suspect that that was running off the gas that I put down into the cylinder head. Because no matter what I did with the throttle, it made absolutely no difference whatsoever. So, it looks like we're gonna have to pull those carbs off of there and get into them. And hopefully it'll be something obvious, like the hamster fell off of his wheel, but I seriously doubt that'll be the case. So I'm gonna pull those off and clean off a workspace over here on my bench, and we'll start tearing into them. All right, we got carburetor number 1 off. So let's start getting into this. Start just taking the float bowl off. Just peel that little clamp back. And there is gas in it, but very little. At least get this stuff kind of cleaned out and dry to work on. Let's see if I can poke this down in there and get that out. It's really in there. There we go. All right, pin out of the float bowl out. I can hear a very tiny bit of gas inside of this when I shake it. That is an issue. It means there's some tiny little crack in this somewhere. It's not really visible to the naked eye, but since it's got fuel inside of it, it's in there somewhere. Alright, I'm going to take a 10mm and get this seat for the pin out after I take out the pin. And of course the pin is brand new, since I did rebuild this. And I believe this is a 10mm, and it is. Now we'll get out the main jet. Which is free and clear. Get the idle jet out of here. Idle jet is clear. Now I'll see if I can get the emulsion tube out with this screwdriver. Yep, it fits. So if something was going to be clogged, this would probably be my first guess for a culprit. So I'll take a look at it. And as expected, I could not see daylight out of a single hole through here. It is completely clogged up. So that could possibly be our problem. But we started here, we might as well finish. Nothing else, we can get everything really clean before we put it back together. Although it does look like I'm gonna have to get on the interwebs and order a new float. So what else we got? Take this side off. This will be the side with the plunger. That should be sliding in and out, and it's not doing diddly squat. Nope, we can go ahead and take a little screwdriver. I don't think this one will fit. Nope. And get that set screw out of there. See, this one might fit. And it does. Don't want to lose that little guy. And pull the pin out. The pin actually doesn't look new. Which it makes me wonder, what did I actually get with my rebuild kit? Not much of anything, apparently. So we'll keep those together. Trying to figure out what's going on with this guy right here and why it's not moving. I'm gonna need to take some fine grit sandpaper, it looks like, and go on the inside of this, because it should just easily go in and down, in and down, in and out of here, up and down, inside of here. But for some reason it is very, very snug, and it looks like it's a little corroded down inside this hole here, not allowing it to move as it should. I mean, you can move it, but not freely. Not freely at all. So that will have to be addressed for sure. Right now though, I'm going to go ahead and pull the second carb off and check the float on it, because I suspect if this one's bad, the other one, good possibility it's bad too, so I can go ahead and get those ordered. I wouldn't tear the other one completely down just because I don't want to get all these parts mixed up and have parts everywhere. That's just more options to lose things. But that way I can go ahead and get a new float or two ordered, so that way this thing can all go back together the right way. Well, I got the second float bowl out of the other carb, just out of sight right here. And shaking it next to my ear, can't hear a thing. But when I go online to buy these, if they're pretty cheap, I'll just go ahead and get two, just in case, and just replace them both just for peace of mind. So if you look down in there, you can definitely see corrosion down inside the hole there, which would make it very difficult for that to slide freely. So I'm probably just going to need to take some like 400 grit sandpaper, maybe on a pencil or something, and go in here and kind of try to hone that out a little bit and get it slick and smooth again. And I just went online and ordered two new floats for 25 bucks. Even though the other one seems fine, it may just not have had enough time for the gas to soak into it and have it where you could shake it and hear it inside of there. So 25 bucks, a little peace of mind, but the downside is it won't be here for another 4 days. So I got to figure out what to do until then, or just stop filming and make the video take that much longer to come out. Now, through the magic of video, it has been 4 days, and my new floats have arrived. So now we can start work on getting this thing back together, and especially getting this emulsion tube cleaned out. Do the same to the other carb, and hopefully we can get this guy to run for real. First thing I'm going to do is just drop that guy and some of these other parts down into this little container. And then hit them with the carb cleaner. That hopefully I can take some compressed air and go through that emulsion tube and blow all the crap out of it. We can also see about cleaning out the corrosion inside of here too. Hey, that's what we're looking for. Poor man's version of an ultrasonic parts cleaner. Now we can see about blowing some of this stuff out. You can now see daylight or flashlight through the holes. So they are free and clear now. Now it's time for reassembly. Drop that emulsion tube back down in there. Alright, and get the idle jet back together. And the main jet. I just found a piece we forgot to take out and clean. So, in the midst of putting everything back together, we'll take this one thing apart. Just to shoot a little cleaner and compressed air in there for insurance. Get our spring back in there. And our screw. Now we can get this guy back on. Get the float bowl drain screw back in. Now, for a brand new float. Comes with a brand new pin as well. Oops. Need to get our needle back in there. Height right out of the box seems to be pretty good. I think we can live with that. Now for my gasket. All right, got our cover back on here, which conveniently just snaps in like so. All right, now we're going to get the top part together. You want to make sure that your little groove here lines up with your little tab on the inside there. Otherwise, it will not go in. Sometimes it takes a little finagling because you got to get the pin lined up in the hole inside of it simultaneously. There we go. That's what we want. All right. And that is completo. Now all I got to do is the exact same stuff to the other carburetor. Now that I have both of the carburetors back together, a way that you can check to see if the slide in there, the plunger, is working the way it's supposed to, is you have these two holes in the top right here. You want to cover one of them. And I have my air compressor set up with my blow-off nozzle, but I've got the air compressor down to just about 10 or 15 pounds or so. And while holding your hand over one of those holes, you can just blow air into the other one. And you can see the slide going up and down inside. Just like so. So that one is good. I keep bumping into the camera with this air hose, sorry. Now we'll check the other one. And I can already see that there's a problem. The plunger in there is already almost in the up position. And it's just sitting here, which it should be sitting down. So that is an issue. It's already almost all the way up, which means it's not moving freely, which this guy will have to take the top back off and see what's going on. So it's moving okay in the body of the carburetor, fine. And this part seems to be pretty smooth and shiny and clean. So we probably have something going on down in here. Still a little bit of corrosion left or something, so I'm going to find something I can stick down in there with a little bit of like 500 grit sandpaper and just kind of hone out the inside of that a little bit. Alright, I've got my piece of 500 grit sandpaper here that I cut out, and I'm just going to wrap it around the body of a ballpoint pen, and we'll see if we can get that down in there. And just start going, putting pressure all the way around it. and try to get this smoothed out. That seems to operate nice and smooth now. So we'll get it all back together and give it the test. Now let's see if we got the result we're looking for. Now we can also check to see if it's working properly just by turning it upside down. And it slides back in and it comes back out. I can live with that. Let's get the carbs back on the bike. I got the carburetors back on. I got everything hooked up on them and filled the float bowls up with fuel. I also primed the plug holes with a little fuel as well. And I guess you can see I also kind of propped the headlight up here so it wasn't just dangling like it has been. So now, let's see what happens. Seem to actually be running with the carburetors now and not just what fuel I put down in the cylinder head, because the throttle worked. Yay! That is another milestone. That was fun. Let's do it again. And this time, let's see if we can get it going again without priming the cylinders. Alright. See if it just starts on its own now without having to prime anything or use any starting fluid. That's what I wanted to hear. Definitely gonna have to do something about that that idle. It's set way too high. I was expecting it to be a lot rougher than that, with a whole bunch of backfiring and misfires and all sorts of stuff, but that actually sounded pretty good. I'm gonna get out of the garage right now because there is a thick fog of exhaust in here and it's giving me a headache. I filled up the float bowls again, and I'm going to try to start it one more time and see if we can do something about that extremely high idle. Well, before I know if that really did the trick, I'll need to put some more gas in it and see if it idles nice and smooth. Still idling pretty high. I think it might actually have something to do with the points, so I believe we'll have to get those adjusted. Or, yeah, not sure what else it could be going on. I've got one more test that I'd like to do. I've already established that it will run, and of course it needs some major tweaking here and there. I hold up the chain, and I'd like to see if mechanically it's sound and it'll actually go. I mean, it's one thing to have it running, but if the thing doesn't actually move and get you somewhere, what's the point? Well, it goes. The clutch needs some work, it looks like. It really didn't want to engage properly. Even with it fully engaged, the back tire still wanted to spin. Now we've fully established that it's a runner and mechanically sound, though it needs some definite love in spots to get it running and purring just right. But all in all, I think that will probably wrap up this second part of this video series. I still have quite a few things to address. I need to possibly look into rebuilding this brake master cylinder. I'd rather do that as opposed to replacing it because of the price. I'm going to do my best to find that other exhaust header because I really don't want to have to buy something that I probably already own somewhere. Keyword being somewhere. But I think next we're going to tackle this spaghetti wire mess right here. Try to figure out what's what. And I will get some tail lights, turn signals, and all that jazz ordered, as well as some other goodies to go on here. So part 3 will be getting the electrical system all figured out, getting everything tuned to where it actually runs the way it's supposed to and idles the way it's supposed to. get everything mechanically sound, and then move on to full-on restoration, the whole shebang. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you already haven't. Hit that notification bell so YouTube will let you know when part 3 of the series is posted. I think this video has gone on long enough, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.